to Goldilock Bears podcast with Vincent Cloud.
John Nemeth.
And David Lauer.
And this is a show where we discuss our loves in life, our hates in life. And then the third option is a little wild and crazy. It can be an indifference, it could be ambivalence, you could be on the fence about it, the gray areas in life, things you're torn apart about, you have mixed feelings and shit. And then our fourth option is the mystery. We don't even know, well, a third of us know what we're going to talk about, but the rest don't. But before we get into any of that fun stuff, let's talk about old topics. We call this segment the Deja Fuse.
Well, I've got one of those. We talked about Weird Al Yankovic a while back. I watched the movie Weird, the Al Yankovic story, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It has Vince's favorite actor, Daniel Radcliffe, as Weird Al himself, and he barely grits his teeth in it at all, I gotta
Whoa,
say.
it's growth.
But yeah, it's pretty funny. Like it's completely fabricated version of his life, and but like a lot of references to his actual songs and stuff. But they do like it's like lip syncing, and it's clearly actually Weird Al singing and stuff. It's just kind of funny. But a lot of like celebrity cameos and that kind of stuff, like doing I think kind of purposely humorous impersonations of real people. Um, I'd recommend it if you're a Weird Al fan for sure.
Yeah, didn't Weird Al wrote that, right? Like he wrote it?
Yeah, co-wrote it at least.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I've never seen UHF or whatever, but I want to still. Like I love Weird Al, so I'll check it out. I mean that whole Harry Potter kid, that was a tough sell. So if he's not doing the teeth thing, yeah, count me in.
Was this movie really recent?
Yes. Yeah, like
Okay.
the last few years.
All right. Because I'd never heard of this movie until like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
So yeah, all of a sudden I saw this trailer for it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I was just geeking out the whole time looking at the trailer because I'm like, I have to watch this. This looks so freaking funny. Because I saw Daniel Radcliffe in it, and I was thinking it was the other Daniel Radcliffe movie he did. I forget the name of it, but he was like playing a dead person or something, and it was like a weird kind of comedy.
Yeah, Swiss Army Man.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was watching at first, and then I was like, oh no, this. I'm like, he's Weird Al, and then he was like, he was kind of in like a pitch meeting with like some producer, and it was the funniest scene ever, and yeah, I can't wait to watch it.
Nice. Yeah. Because yeah, basically Weird Al and Will Forte play like the music executives, and their scenes are pretty hilarious.
So this is fabricated for his own life, right?
Yes.
Do they parody other biopics though?
Oh, um, they kind of parody like certain tropes
Hmm.
from them, but I can't think of specific references to other ones, I guess. But there might have been that went over my head or something.
Sweet. Um, yeah. Is that do we start the show? I say we do. Let's get
Do it.
into the topics of the day. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to ask you guys, what are you guys feeling? Let's get crazy. My love, my hate, my indifference, or my mystery.
I mean, I'm always going to choose mystery when given the option.
All right, Dave.
I choose love, but I'm okay with the mystery.
Love over mystery.
I mean,
Is
I
that...
might love the mystery too. So
You know what? Let's go with the fucking mystery. So it's basically Blue's Clues, right?
is that what that is?
No, it's not Blue's Clues. It's like a fucking
Like
what
an
is
air
that?
horn.
Yeah, look at it. All right. Well, let's do mystery. I love the video game Rock Band.
Ooh,
This
yes.
is always fun to do when you got a bunch of friends over and you split up. Who would be the drummer in our group? You find sometimes they naturally gravitate towards what they would be in a real life band. There's some people that are just naturally drummers, and then there are some people who are so talented and quick with the lead guitar. And then if you're fucking chill and shit, you want to like have a cigarette in your mouth and glasses on, you play the bass. you know? And singing would be my first and foremost thing. I love singing. But if I can't sing, I'll gladly do the drums. To me, that seems more real, as close to singing because you actually have to hit certain notes and stuff like that. Um, so that's awesome.
You don't run your vocals through an auto tune before it gets to the Rock Band game.
No, I really should though. Um, a fun little thing with our friends, we would have a bottle of Dr. McKillicuddy and we would call that band meeting. So every time where we would like get into a clash in terms of the band, we're like, God damn it, band meeting. And that's from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And so our band meeting, we would all take a drink out of the bottle. It's pretty sweet. Um, so I did buy Beatles Rock Band and Green Day Rock Band. Those were, oh my God, those were both so much fun. Um, Yeah, I think that's all I have for now. Oh, one song that to me is so fun as a challenge is Like a Stone by Audioslave. That is in terms of singing and like trying to let's try and reach these notes and whatever, that is the shit. So yeah, what do you guys say about Rock Band?
I didn't know there was a Green Day Rock Band. Yeah, I love those games. Rock Band, Guitar Hero. I was actually thinking about them a while back that, they were so big like a decade ago, and then you just never hear about it anymore. Um, Pretty sure I played it at your place once, Vince. I remember doing, I think it was Wonder Boy by Tenacious D, and I was doing pretty good until it got to the scatting part. And I, rigagoo, rigagoo. Um, my wife and I used to play it all the time, and for some reason, like, she would always play Barracuda
Yes,
by.
I remember that. That was hilarious. Because like she played it and they were like awesome, and then like we pass it to like me or you, and then we get back to her, she played Barracuda every time. Oh my God. And that is like one of the simplest ones, like dun, 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 dun. It's just that over and over again. That's awesome.
I
Uh,
freaking love Rock Band. It was one of like I have so many fond memories of playing Rock Band and then Rock Band 2. Like I've played like Guitar Hero, like 1, 2, and 3, and those were good, but for whatever reason, Rock Band just like resonated more and I enjoyed it more. Just for like the multiplayer aspect of it. And like the drums were awesome. I remember I at first I hated the drums. I thought it was like super intimidating because I'm like, I have no idea how to play drums, and it was terrible. But then I think you got Beatles Rock Band, and I was like, okay, I'll be Ringo Starr. So and like you were always willing to do the drums, and I kind of admired that. And I was like, okay. I'm like, Vince, if you're gonna sing or do guitar, I'm like, I'll step in and I'll try drums too. And then I started to like get the hang of it, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And I kind of like lost my fear of it, and I had a lot of fun with the drums. One a story I always remember was in like Christmas of 2008. Me and my buddy Luke were playing Rock Band 2 because Rock Band 2 just came out in like November. So we just gotten it like a month before. And it was Christmas Day, like Luke and I had like no family around to hang out with. So we just hung out together at my place. I was renting a place with Jonathan at the time. We just hang out at my place and we were just drinking Jack Daniels and playing Rock Band 2, and we're playing the career mode, and we're trying to play through the entire thing where you travel all over the world tour, and we're drinking as it goes on, and the game gets progressively harder, and we're drinking more and more as the game goes on, so it's getting even more difficult, and we get to the final song, and we played the final song and failed it, I think 81 times in a row. And we would go outside and have a smoke break, and just be like trying to figure out how the fuck we could beat it, and we kept switching playing bass and guitar to like, okay, I can't get through this part. And we're like figuring out strategies. Okay, when you fail that part, I'm going to tilt the guitar and it'll go into like power mode, and then it will save you. But I'm going to have to wait until the last second. And we like strategize. And after like hours of failing it, we finally freaking beat it. And it was like the most epic thing ever because it took us like, it was like midnight of that, but we spent the entire day in like, into the night, and we finally beat it, and it was just like, it was probably my greatest accomplishment as an adult.
Oh my gosh. Uh, there was this video of our friend DJ Matty Nice. Like he was overseas and like it's him and all his army buddies and they're playing Rock Band and the one guy's like, shh, we're gonna prank Matt or whatever. And this one guy, like they lose the game or whatever, and he just takes the guitar and smashes the drum kit or whatever. And Matt's like, "What the fuck?" And he kind of storms out. Then he's coming back, and they have like a whole new set that they bought for him or something like that. That was well done. Because I would have been upset as well. Oh my gosh,
Yeah, I was, as you were telling the story, I was upset. I was like, how dare
Like,
they?
what kind of prank is that?
right?
And then they punched him in the face.
This is war. Get with the times, man. Oh
Um,
man,
are there any bands that you've come to know through these games? Um, for me, the band Muse, they're in one of the Guitar Heroes has that's song Knights of Sidonia or
yeah,
Kydonia that I love that song in the game, and I've actually like gotten to know them as a band for some of the other stuff since then. Um, become not their biggest fan, but I like some of their albums.
right. I was gonna say it's not like I liked Muse. I liked that song, and I did also look into them. And I was like, they're all right. I might give them a more of a chance later on if I'm bored. Yeah. What was the? Now I can't remember, but there's some awesome stuff. Oh, even like old songs or old bands, and then you would play that song, and you're like, oh, I actually like this now. I think one is from Mount Black Mountain or fuck, I don't know. There's an awesome song that I've heard dozens and dozens of time on the radio, and I'm always like, this is lame. It's overplayed. But once you play those riffs and those parts, it's cool. It's really awesome.
Yeah, that's what happened for me is I don't like, I just, there were songs that I had heard before and I knew the song, but I didn't really appreciate it until I played it on Rock Band. Like the song by Modest Mouse, Float On. Like I always liked the song. I've always like enjoyed Modest Mouse, but then when I played it, I was like, "Oh man, I really freaking like this song now." And it like took it to another level.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
then
point.
also
Yeah, you get to know like you just like pay way more attention to the instruments and stuff.
with Fleetwood Mac, Go Your Own Way. It's like an all-time iconic song, but like once you're actually playing the game to that song, you're like, "Oh, dang, this is good."
Oh
What I
man, there
always
was
find
a
amusing is people who like claim like, "Oh, this is actually teaching you how to play the guitar and stuff." Like, no, it's not. Just a rhythm game.
actually there's a game that was invented where they're like, we want to eventually teach you guitar through this game. But I think it didn't sell very well and people just dropped it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, there was this one time this girl was around and she sang a song by Garbage, I think. And it was so hot. Like it was such a good vocal where I'm like, oh, this is actually like really impressive. Like sometimes you'll uh, have some really good singers that are into the game. And you're like, oh shit, who knew? Our friend Eric, he went from like kind of like middling around, and now he's got a pretty decent voice. He's owned a rock band set for years, and it's still in his man cave and stuff. So I think he put in his 10,000 hours, man, and he just got really good. Um, you know, I remember this one time we were, of course, getting drunk off of Doctor, and I was like, "Give me the Doctor. It keeps the apples away." That was fun. And then I remember one time I was at your place, Dave, and you were criticizing the way I was drumming or something like that, and you were like, "That's weird what you're doing." And then later on, you're like, "You're like being super loud." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I thought we were a rock band." Just awesome, awesome fun times. Oh, and
I
also
remember
Eric.
that you were being overly aggressive. You were bashing it so hard. I'm like, you're gonna break the sensor inside of it. I'm like, you just need to tap it. Just, it's not real drums. It's a game.
You would never tell Animal from fucking The Muppet Show. You know? I'm sure Billy Joe never told Trey Cool to take it easy. Oh man. Segue challenge?
Let's rock on to our next topic.
Rock on. All right, whoever wants to go next.
I'll keep going with the mysteries. Um, Only because my mystery topic kind of stemmed from my deja vu in a way. Um, I wanted to talk about like people online who just like don't get satire or sarcasm or whatever. Um, it stemmed from like a comment I was reading on Letterboxd that someone I follow wrote about the Weird Al movie, and just there being like dozens of comments about it with people just like basically calling the guy stupid, where like it was like clearly like just like a joke, and like everyone's like, dude, you know that movie wasn't real, right? Like, you know that movie was satire, or like they were telling him the movie was satire, and
Oh boy.
it's just like um the topic could be specifically like just people like taking jokes way too seriously, or maybe we could even just talk about how like when you're communicating through text that people don't always know what your tone is when you say it, because like another thing is like um when you ever see someone reading a text message and they're like oh, Jim said thanks a lot for the for the gift. I really like it. Like, you know what I mean? Like they always like assume whatever tone they want to put on it, and like it's always amusing just to see how people take things. And like, let me see that. I'm like, I think he's just actually thanking you for the gift. I think he does like it.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's always like someone who has to leave their mark on the conversation, and it's usually to put someone else in place. But yeah, they don't realize that they're dealing with someone who's being a troll, maybe, or being sarcastic, and they
Mhm.
just fall for it. They go for it. And it's so embarrassing. Like, what's that, like I can get embarrassed for someone else sometimes. And
Yeah.
yeah, that always bothers me where they're like, "Oh, you don't get it. You don't understand this." I once sat in a restaurant and there was a copy of The Onion and I didn't know. I've never heard of it before. And I was like, this is the stupidest shit I ever read. And I'm not going to go into the details, but it was very embarrassing when they're like, that's a fake newspaper there, bud. I'm like, oh, fuck. Sorry.
I remember when I first found out about the Onion, like I was like, "Oh, this is fake," and I'm like, "People need to know that this is fake." Like, and then it was like I was like looking online, I like Googled it, and I was like, "Oh, everybody knows this is fake." I was just the only one who didn't know.
Oh, I remember what it was about. It was the title or headline or whatever. It's like joggers sick of discovering the dead bodies or something like that. Because they're like they're gonna go and do this petition and stuff, and just everything was written out perfectly well. And I'm like, wow, this is an outrage. I must let everyone know.
Oh
It's
man,
just running down the trail through the woods. And it's just always dead bodies are stumbling over.
Uh,
the best headline I can remember, and this is totally not PC, but the from the Onion is it says the T throws a perfect game at the Special Olympics Little League World Series or whatever. And but the best part is like the photo shows like the umpire just like super animated being like calling the strike. Like
gosh.
did you
Uh,
hear the Onion, and this is real, bought InfoWars or whatever? Like
right.
yeah, what's his name? Um
Alex Jones.
yeah, like his assets were liquidated or whatever, and they
I
bought.
heard that sale didn't go through.
Oh, did it not? I haven't heard
Yeah,
about it for a couple days. So
Yeah, but
yeah.
you read that from the National Enquirer, right?
Well, I heard it from Alex Jones, so I don't know whether to believe it or not. But
Yeah, go ahead.
they said that well, I don't know. They like put in a bid or something, but they said there was a problem with the bidding process, and then so it's like under review or something, and that it's probably I think it's fallen through,
Oh, okay.
or it might.
Anything else on online though? I we got
Um,
completely
I
distracted.
know. So one thing you were saying, it reminded me, my wife was saying she was describing a text message conversation she was having, and like people always misinterpret like what other people are saying. She was describing what was happening, and she's like, she sent a really passive aggressive thumbs up emoji. And I'm like, how is a thumbs up emoji passive aggressive? I'm like, let me see your phone. What did it look like? Because I thought like maybe there's a new thumbs up that I'm not aware of that's passive aggressive looking. I'm like, no, that's just I'm like, you like gave her instructions and then she gave a thumbs up, like, okay. I'm like, there's nothing passive aggressive under any circumstances with a thumbs up. It's just affirmative, okay, gotcha.
You know what though? I'll be honest, like for whatever reason, the thumbs up always like rubs me the wrong way. And
Really?
like yeah, and like I never actually think that people are using it like maliciously or passive aggressively, but it's still like just it's like like I always just take it sarcastically for some
I
reason.
think my wife feels the same way. I don't understand it. I'm just like, oh, it's like, okay, sounds good.
Is there a meme where a guy's doing like the sarcastic thumbs up? I don't think
Uh,
Oh yeah,
so.
like the
Not
little
that
kid
I
at the
can.
computer.
Oh,
He's
that one's
like,
good. Yeah, but I
Okay.
mean, he's pretty sincere in that one. Like that's not sarcastic.
I move for the iguanodon thumb. That's sarcastic. That'd be great. Come on. Any dinosaur fans out there? The iguanodon, come on.
Over
All
my
right.
head.
Um, anything else? Online stuff. I feel like we're barely scratching the surface.
I
No?
mean, I think people's reading comprehension in general, like it's one thing we've learned from the internet is if anytime you read a comment section, people's reading comprehension is very low, especially the people who choose to comment because I don't know. I just think they're people who comment a lot online. I think they have low IQ, anyways, and it's kind of magnifies it. It just seems like I don't know. People, you need to be able to kind of look and kind of put yourself in the other person's positions. Like, what is their motivation for writing this? Like, what are they trying to achieve by writing this? And, comedy is a possibility, or maybe they're totally dead serious, or maybe they're trying to have like some subtle sarcasm in there, but people like don't always have their eyes open to it. They're kind of just like they read something and then their first emotional reaction is like, I'm upset about this, and then they're like, oh, I'm rushing to the comment section to comment on it, and it's like, okay, like you kind of jumped the gun there. It was actually a joke, but you just decided to get mad over it.
Yeah, and like this letterbox review I was talking about was like literally a 3-word review, and these commenters are acting like he like put all this thought into it, and like, oh man, like I can't believe you thought such and such, and like it's going on, and it's like, okay, he wrote 3 words, like.
It was it that just happened. Oh my
Oh man,
God.
another thing that this isn't specifically online, but I've seen happen a lot is where someone writes a paragraph, someone reads the first sentence, and then like writes their own paragraph or two, and then like the original person reads the first sentence of that and then writes another paragraph back, and like you guys, if you just read the full text of each other's messages, we'd be done by now. But like, like this is like a reply all email thread or something. So I'm just watching them go back and forth, just purposely not understanding each other.
Gosh. Yeah, well, in real life, I can be a little too dry, and like some people will like take me way too seriously about something. So to use emojis to get across the fact that it's sarcastic, I would like that. Like, but some emojis I have no idea what they mean. Like the one looks like it's rolling its eyes, and then one I don't know. They don't come with like what they mean. I feel like there was this big meeting once, and everyone's like, "Okay, and break." That's what all the emojis mean. I'm like, "Hey, I wasn't there." God damn it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like actual like controversies, like the one where it's like 2 palms facing each other. Is this prayer hands or is it 2 people giving a high five? And like different people will use those for different things, like confident that everyone knows what they mean.
I never crossed my mind it would be anything other than prayer hands. Like I thought the one that was like two hands towards you and it has like little sparks coming off the hands, that was like
Oh yeah, those are
high
like praise
five.
Jesus hands, right? Yeah.
Oh shit, maybe that's what they are. Yeah,
Whoa.
they're just yeah.
Well, okay, for the high five, if to make you have to make the one hand a different color or something. Although then people are like, "Oh, unity, huh?" Oh.
Oh, woke.
Yeah, woke. Oh man.
I know,
Uh
like my wife had that conversation. I think it was with like the eye rolling emoji. And like I thought it meant one thing, she thought it meant another, and then we Googled it and neither of us were right. And we're like, oh shit.
Like it doesn't literally mean eye rolling.
Well, like I thought it was like I'm avoiding eye contact because I'm lying to you. So
oh.
like I'm saying something and I'm looking like up here because I'm lying to you, and she thought it was like that's you rolling your eyes, and I'm like, no, I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm avoiding eye contact. And then I think whatever we saw online, it said something different that didn't apply to either.
Well, I want to
Uh,
go to that website. I need to know some of the stuff. I mean, I'm sure relationships have been destroyed over
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Oh,
you're probably right.
jeez. Um,
So yeah,
Segway
you need to send
challenge.
the emoji plus the link to the website explaining what the emoji means.
What would be the emoji for Segway challenge?
Is there a segue emoji?
Which they're not even in business anymore. That's Segways. That's a broken business. They no
Oh
longer
man.
sell them. Anyways, next we got Dave.
All right. What do you guys want? My love, my hate, or my indifference, or my mystery?
Have we done
Wait,
mysteries the
would
whole
it be
time?
insane to do three mysteries in a row?
Are we allowed to do this, producers?
All right, let's do it. My mystery topic is something I
Blues
hate. I think
Clues.
I hate it. It's just annoying to me is when people are eavesdropping on you on a conversation. I just had this happen today at work. It was like me and a couple other we're like where all the techs are sitting. We had nothing going on. So we're just sitting there having conversation. Well, someone like down the hall in their office, I guess was like leaning in and like listening to our conversation because like we're talking, and then all of a sudden they just poke their head around the corner. They're like, "Hey, I heard you were talking about so and so." So, and then they just start talking and like joining our conversation. It was like if you would have just walked up and stood in the doorway and heard our conversation and then joined my conversation, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But the fact that you were like out of sight listening, and then I'm thinking like, wait, how far back were they listening? And then I'm like backtracking, like, did I say anything that would have offended them? How long were they out there? And it was just like it was just weird, and I'm like, and this is not the first time this person has done it. It's probably like the third time they've done it, and I've only worked with them for less than a year, and now it's just like anytime they're working, I just have to assume that they're listening in, even if they're not around, because they might just be around the corner listening.
Yeah, so you said they were out of eyesight
Yeah,
and
like
yeah,
there's
that's
a
weird.
doorway, and it's like there's no door, it's just an open walkway, and then like down the hall, and they were out there and just standing in the hallway. And there's nothing in the hallway. There's nothing to do out in that hallway. It's just an empty hallway. So like they're just
Did they have
listening
a
in.
drinking glass up to their ear?
uh, isn't that what Sam's accused of by Gandalf? Because I ain't dropping no eaves, sir. You know what? I just have to say real quick, like, yeah, I hate being eavesdropped, but has this ever happened to you where like some people are having this conversation, intimate conversation or something where you can't help but listen to it? You don't want to, but they're like right fucking there. I remember there was this girl talking with yeah, she was talking with her girlfriends about like having sex or something like that. And it was pretty graphic or whatever, you know? And I was in that room. I was the only other person there. And then she's like, and Cloud over there is listening to the whole thing. And it's like, well, I don't even know what I did. Maybe I made a face and it got a laugh or something like that. But it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what the
Yeah, like
fuck?
earmuffs.
Yeah. Yeah. Just sort of stomping like, nah. Yeah.
Yeah, or like I've never worked as a bartender, but I've heard of people who do, and like they talk about like just people there like having conversations that like they don't think the bartender is a person who can hear things. You know what I mean? Like,
Holy shit. Yeah, just think of all the horrible things he's heard too, like the lies to pick up girls and guys, whatever, you know? Yeah. They should make a
um,
sitcom about being in a bar and a guy named Norm.
I've been. I'm trying to think of like okay, let's say you're at like a play or something, like in the audience waiting for it to start, and I remember one time there was like people behind me talking about whatever, but then somehow the conversation got to movies, and they were like then trying to think of the name of a movie, which I knew, and I'm like, oh, do I turn around and like say the name of the movie and show that I've been like listening this whole time? and they were struggling long enough that I couldn't resist, and I did it, and it wasn't like a big deal or anything, but I'm like,
Were they relieved? Were they like, thank you and stuff
yeah,
like that?
exactly,
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah.
You
And
know,
like
oh, go ahead.
where I sit at work, it's like kind of an open seating arrangement. Like there's no cube walls or anything. And it's also where the lunch table is. So like when people get their lunches or whatever, they'll sit in that area. And I think there's not an expectation of privacy, so I don't feel like it's eavesdropping, but like I am always just hearing whatever conversations are going on in that area, which I don't know if counts as eavesdropping or not.
I don't care for the people that like really make it a point where they're like, "Oh, what's this?" I was, I like they'll finish your sentence while they enter or something. It's a total power move that I've always despised. And like, "Oh, I'm aware of everything." Like they're trying to get the drop on you and shit like that. Fuck that. Oh my God. I hate that.
Yeah, and it's like it's not even the fact that they're like overheard something because anybody can overhear something. It's just like the fact that like they either tried to act like they weren't listening, but they were, but then they all like join the conversation and they're like, "Hey, I heard you were talking about so and so," and it's like you're not a part of this conversation. Like it's like just stay over there. Like
This is an A to B conversation, so you can see yourself out of it.
exactly.
And then all
There
the
was
commentators are like, see, that's, oh my God. Yeah.
um another thing this reminds me of is I have a coworker who was notorious for this, that we actually named this move after him, where someone like comes into the middle of a conversation thinking that they like are just jumping right in, but they're actually like backtracking the conversation like to 5 minutes ago, or just coming in with something completely unrelated, but they think it's like just, jumping into the conversation or whatever. Um, which not really eavesdropping, I guess, but it's just a third party entering an existing conversation dynamic.
There, oh my God, when my sister was in the hospital, we were just like, we haven't seen her in a while just because we weren't allowed and stuff. But finally, we're like, hey, so how's it going and stuff? How do you like your nurses or, whatever? Just get her talking. And she was talking about the one nurse. And she's like, yeah, and she's always doing this. Like, she's not really complaining, but just saying this this nurse is a little off. And that's when she shows up. She's like, oh, and like she finishes someone's sentence. So she was clearly listening in. And I feel like she got a little mad that whatever my sister was saying about her got to her. That's why she burst into the room. I'm like, that's a weird thing for a nurse to do. Like, totally bizarre. Again, it's like a power move. Like, I'm aware of all conversations at all time. You will never take me by surprise. It's that weird, stupid thing. Ugh.
Yeah, I as someone who works in healthcare, like I know the personality of that nurse.
Ew.
Like it's just
Gross.
like nobody likes that nurse. Like and the thing is like they I'm sure that they have coworkers who talk shit about them as well. And then to have the patients also like talking some shit, then it's like they're taking shit from two directions and they're like, man, I must really suck.
But do they think I must really suck, or do they just think how everyone else is wrong?
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
Total ego, like I said. It's an ego thing. Segue challenge?
I overheard a different topic earlier.
Wait a minute, real quick. Is it literally like, does the word come from like you would climb up on the rafters or the eaves and like listen to a conversation?
Oh, that's a good point. I never thought about what that actually means. Like
That makes sense.
that would
I
make
like it.
sense, yeah.
And
I'll
then
buy it. Yeah.
then it would eventually break, and that's what makes dropping them. So
Yeah.
weird. All right, on to a whole nother thing here. Okay, so I got my love, hate, and indifference. Let's cover my indifference. I'm indifferent to Andy Warhol. You know what? I some for some reason watched maybe two or three documents about this guy. Maybe I watched a documentary about artists and they included him. So I've always kind of been aware of his stuff, or at least what he's about. And that's the main thing. I think it's mostly about him, what he's about, what he's selling is what people think he is. It's like this conceptual artist. Like, what is art? Okay, well, right away, that's an instant win, right? Like, it gets the conversation going. And that's why he's able to do this stuff where it's like that's like I personally, as a fan of art and a son of an artist, I feel like there are things that are not art. Or at least, okay, his big thing is what is art, right? So he makes a movie called Empire. It's about the Empire State Building, and it's a movie. It's 8 hours long, and you're like, oh shit, what's he gonna come up with? It's a static shot of the Empire State Building for 8 hours. Then you fucking hear of all the conversations of like people that knew him and stuff. And what he basically did was show up to a scene where everyone's trying to um, impress each other, and he just sits there doing nothing. He's static. Eventually, these fucking people are like, well, he must have all the answers. He's not talking to me, and I'm great. I'm amazing. My personality, he must be great. So he just had all these fucking people just surrounding him. Like, so what do you think of this? He's like, I don't know. What does anyone think of that? And you're like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, that's how I feel about him when I see anything about him. God, there was even a movie where God, who played him? But but it's always the same. It's always like this void of a personality. He's just saying, sitting there like a cat almost, like, I'm gonna lick my paws. You're gonna think I'm amazing. Meanwhile, I'm not doing a damn thing. So, what do you guys think of Andy Warhol?
So, I mean, some of his artwork is definitely iconic. Um, there's the Campbell soup can stuff and the pictures of Marilyn Monroe and stuff, like done with the different colors and stuff. And actually, like just walking around the Minneapolis Skyway this week, there's like a restaurant that had advertisements that were like a reference to the soup cans, and like there's a hotel that has artwork, and it's like the Marilyn Monroe thing, like the two things I just talked about. Like, so what? How many years later now? 60 years later, like
Wow,
it's
jeez.
still being referenced. Um, and I'm also a fan of the Velvet Underground, and they were like a musical band who had like, to your point, like he hung around with them. Like I'm not exactly sure what his role in the band was. He definitely designed the album artwork for their most famous album with
And
the banana, yeah, with a peel off sticker on like the earlier releases of it.
oh, really? You
Um,
could take it off the banana? Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome. That's cool.
And then yeah, I was just reading about it too, and like he, I think, convinced the singer Nico to like, do vocals on their album. Um for you know, I think I like her songs she sings on the album, but for good or ill of the how happy the band was or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, like it it seems like he was maybe more influential in like just bringing people together than in actually producing stuff himself, which is an interesting role. But some of his stuff is still um iconic today, I'd say.
Dave, usually you have a Andy Warhol painting behind you, right?
No. I mean, possibly inspired. I mean,
What
I
are
don't.
those? What's the artists that you have behind you typically? Like you always have these paintings. Who are they?
Oh, that is just my cousin. It's Brooke's cousin, my wife's
Oh,
cousin.
nice. That's cool. Anyways,
I mean, is that I don't know that it's Andy Warhol inspired. I've never
Yeah, it doesn't
asked
really
though.
strike me as
yeah.
anything.
I always thought it was more Picasso inspired. Who knows? I really don't have much to say on Andy Warhol. I've always heard the name, and he's like, to me in my mind, he's just this person who's famous for some reason, and he's way more famous than he deserves because I don't I try to figure out well, I mean, even as an artist, I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that's good, but he's like a I don't know, he has like a persona or personality, and everyone seems to know him, but I don't get it. I don't know. I feel like it was like if I lived during the 60s and 70s, I would probably have an opinion on him. But like looking back, I really don't understand why he was famous. It's almost like nowadays with like social media, if you have like Jake Paul is like, oh, he's super famous right now. But if you in 20 or 30 years from now, you look back, people are like, why was he famous? And everyone's like, oh, we really don't know.
Well, he was the
Um,
guy who talked about the 15 minutes of fame, right?
oh yeah, that's
Wasn't that his
right.
quote? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mention indifference because I any artists for the most part I do enjoy. Like the fucking colorful Monroes, that's cool. I would love to do that for myself. That'd be sweet.
Self.
Myself. And but outside of that, like I his personality I wouldn't care for. Like again, he's like he's not saying anything, so people just put their assumptions onto him. It's very much like the movie Being There, where Peter Sellers is like this simpleton. He doesn't say much, but everyone's like, "Oh my God, he must have all the answers." That was a fucking satire of society, and that's what they were doing to Andy Warhol. And he had one of his muses, Edie Sedgwick, who actually dated or got involved with Bob Dylan. And eventually, um, as the story goes, Andy Warhol got jealous and just dumped her, like just split all social ties with her. And since he knew everyone, that meant no one talked to her. And she basically, yeah, she went down a terrible path. But Bob Dylan, that's what the song Like a Rolling Stone is about. It's about Edie Sedgwick getting dumped by Andy Warhol in a sense, where they're like, yeah, I'm not gonna sing the song. Yeah. Andy Warhol. None of that was lyrics of the song. Uh, um, uh, Segway
Well, no,
challenge.
I
Oh
was
shit.
gonna say just like you were talking about the films. Like I've been to art museums where there's like an Andy Warhol exhibit, and you watch like 30 seconds of one of the films or something, and you're like, yeah, like I have no desire to watch any more of this. It's just like, um, it's yeah, always just so abstract to the point of being like, well, this is the only place it's ever going to be shown because, it's not a movie. It's not like anything worth, you know, projecting at a theater or anything.
The one thing that I really enjoyed about Andy Warhol, and it's just The Doors, Crispin Glover plays Andy Warhol in like, I don't know, 8 second scene where he's like, God was on the phone, but I'm not sure what to say to him. Maybe you can talk to him, Jim. And Jim's like, how's it going, Andy? It's like, whoa. Ah, great shit. All right, segue challenge. What is a
Well,
segue? I mean, what is a podcast, really, if you think about it?
this topic had its 15 minutes of fame. And...
Nice. Go ahead, John.
All right. gonna say I hate how shows can lose their rights to music once they go on streaming platforms. Um, so basically, when people create a television show and they write an episode, or they're producing it, they have very specific song cues and like song choices that they want to be in the episode, and they don't just go willy-nilly about it. They don't just put in whatever they want. Like they go and they secure the rights for it, and they're like, okay, well, let's put this on our show that we're gonna um, broadcast on national television. Um, but now all of a sudden, like you want to put it on Hulu or whatever the fuck, and that's not good enough anymore. And like, oh, Hulu shows only have the rights to these catalogs, and Netflix has rights to whatever other ones. So, um, maybe the show creator is interested enough that they'll try and find something from the catalog that like fits the vibe that they wanted, but likely not. Like likely just someone is going to pick something to put in its place, and it might completely change the vibe of it. And like a couple, like one show that I know that's happened with, I like the show Scrubs a lot. Like I've watched through that multiple times, and like you just get a different experience when you watch the original ones. Because
Whoa. Did they
they
cut
had,
out the Boston song? Remember where they're like doing the air guitar and
oh
stuff to
yeah,
that whole Boston song? Like
oh
that would
man,
ruin everything if
yeah.
that's
I'm
taken
not
out.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. That's a good question, but yeah. And then there's like this show from the 70s, WKRP in Cincinnati, where it took place at a radio station. So like basically these episodes are like lost to time because like they're never going to get the rights for every single song that they played on that show. So like just you can't really stream that show anywhere, which is kind of a bummer because I actually have enjoyed like episodes of that on like TV Land and stuff that I've watched over the years. And it's just like such a weird dumb thing. Like like when they created these things, like obviously they didn't account for these things because nobody predicted that there would be these weird rights issues in the future. Like it seems like yeah, maybe for new shows if it's like a Netflix exclusive or whatever, you need to worry about that stuff. But shows that have been around for 50 years, it seems like they should get a pass.
Uh, Dave, have you ever checked out the OC after it went on streaming? Because that was a show that prided itself on its soundtrack. Remember that?
Yeah, is when I've rewatched it, like every song that I heard originally was still there.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Um,
Okay.
However, but when I go on to Apple Music and I look up the OC soundtrack, there's supposed to be like 14 songs on there. Well, now there's only like six, and the other ones are like grayed out, and you can't even play them. So it
Oh.
is so like I don't understand how these contracts work because I can't listen to the full soundtrack on Apple Music. But if I see it like listed under that album, I can't click on it. But if I go and independently search it, I can find that album or find that song on the album that the artist came out with originally, but you just can't find it on the soundtrack it's also from. But it's just weird to me because like if you're allowing the song to be on a TV show, then you're allowing it, and then it should be forever, that you allowed it to happen. Like,
Right. And it's not like I'm gonna watch an episode of Scrubs instead of buying an album. You know what I mean? Like
exactly,
they're
yeah.
not like direct competitors.
Like I know, like one of the instances where I first discovered this happening was in like 10 years ago. They came out with the WWE Network, and I would go back and watch like some of the old wrestling things from like Hulk Hogan in the 90s. He would come out to I think Voodoo Child by
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix. But then when I was watching it, I'm like, this isn't the right music. I'm like, what is this? It's just some like weird generic music that they put over it because they couldn't actually use it. And then I would notice like CM Punk, he had a Cult of Personality, and that was not on there. It was some other weird song in place of it. And it was just like I never knew it was a thing until that happened. And then I think now I'm pretty sure that like CSI, where it has like the Who does their entrance music for it.
Yeah.
I've seen a version of it where it's not the Who, and I immediately thought it was just. I'm not. I didn't never looked into it, but I was like, oh, this must be like a streaming rights thing. Like, and they can't have it like that song. Like their contract ran out, and now they have a different theme song at the beginning of the show.
Oh man, that's horrible because that's so iconic. Where it's like he makes like the pun, does the thing with the sunglasses, and it's like, yeah.
It'd be funny if they're
Anytime
like,
anytime I try on sunglasses, I'm always like, okay, I got to do that thing from CSI.
it'd be great if they're like, we could afford the Guess Who. It's not as good. Well, I noticed the music thing with the UFC. You know, like they'll come out and like the music is like, oh God, it's kind of shitty and really like generic garbage, you know? But then you could hear bits of like a very popular song that they came out to and stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. Especially if like some fighters always come out to the same song, you know, like Chris Weidman, doesn't he have like three or four like copyrighted songs he comes
Oh
out to
yeah,
like
it's
in
like
a
Bruce
row?
Springsteen. I think
Tom
Alicia
Petty.
Keys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my God. John, did we ever mention that Chris Weidman coming out with a bunch of songs
I don't think
before?
so.
Okay, well, when we say coming out to a bunch of songs, we don't mean like one month he comes out and it's Alicia Keys, and then the next month he comes out and it's Tom Petty. No, four songs sandwiched together. Like there's, yeah, it sucks. I hate it. Like
He
30
takes like
seconds,
Like a mashup.
not even 30. It's like 40 seconds of one song cut. Now it's a totally different song.
Oh,
40, yeah, it's so bad. I hate it.
yeah, and they're not like seamlessly transitioned.
Yeah.
It's just like one stops and he's from New York City, so any like song that says Alicia Keys does the New York, he plays that because it's New York, and then it's like I don't know, Springsteen, and then it's just
Sinatra. Start
yeah, it's
spreading the news.
don't give him any more ideas. Yeah, it's insufferable.
Reminds me one time at work at my old job, we for some reason we queued up 4 Heart songs on YouTube and played them all simultaneously.
Why Heart specifically? I need to
I
know.
don't remember.
What about love? Like that's the one song I know about them.
Magic Man,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. Anyways.
Crazy on You.
Wow, I'm a huge fan of Heart
I
apparently.
know they're awesome.
But you're playing all four of those at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what?
Barracuda, of course, as we mentioned
Oh, really?
earlier.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I gotta check out Heart tonight or something. This is great. Anything else about no rights, music and shit? If not, I say segue.
I had a segue challenge all selected, but we're not allowed to broadcast it on YouTube, so just have to come up with something else.
Dave, for closies, go ahead.
Uh, should we talk about something I hate?
Yes.
Uh, I hate credit scores and like how they're calculated. Um, I think like anything kind of to do with credit is annoying. Like paying bills is annoying. Um,
Why
credit
can't stuff just be
scores,
free?
yeah, like credit scores are just super annoying to me because of like kind of how they're calculated. it's just based off of like how many loans have you taken out and your ability to pay them back. So like if I take out $10,000 worth of loans and I've been paying it back, and it's like, well, it's based off of like how much free credit do you have overall. There's like different things that affect it. So it's like it's not just whether you've paid back the like when I was younger, I bought a car and it was $10,000 and I paid back that loan in full and it was over with. And then I go to get another car and they're like, nah, your credit score is not good enough to get a car. But I'm like, but I had one previously and like I had a cosigner, but I made all the payments myself and now I don't qualify for another car loan. Like I already did it once, but they're like, well, you don't have any open credit right now, and that is closed. And I'm like, this is so stupid. And I'm like, but I have a job and I make money. And it's like, how much your income is doesn't affect your credit at all. Like you could get a new job and make twice as the amount of money, but your credit score is like stuck in the past in a way. Um, like nowadays, I think it's a little bit easier nowadays because like we have like phones with apps and it's super easy to access your credit score and to know what affects it. I know like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was super like we didn't really understand how credit scores worked or what affected them. Like nowadays we understand it and you can kind of figure it out, but it doesn't make it like any less kind of stupid because like I pay my electric bill every month and I've never missed a payment in 25 years. Doesn't show up on my credit report even though that's a bill that I paid for 25 years straight. It only counts if I'm paying it to like MasterCard, Visa, Wells Fargo, like that type of stuff. And like if I rent a house or like rent an apartment, that's not going to show up on my credit score. But if I own the house, then it does because I'm paying it to a bank rather than a landlord. But like what the hell's the difference? Like, I just feel like the credit scores are stupid and they're annoying and they don't use logic.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember like I don't know who told me, but whoever it was, the message stuck at least. They were like basically like this is back when I was in high school or something where they were like they said just get a credit card and pay it off every month and that'll help your credit score. And it did. Like so you're never actually paying interest on it, but it's still building up that credit rating based on whatever voodoo magic happens in the background.
Yeah, and that
Um,
seems like a glitch in their system. Like if you're only getting like spending $30 on a credit card and then you pay it off, like I feel like that's gaming their system, but like it works that way.
yeah, it shows you can be trusted with debt, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, I think they told like a bank. I went in there just like, hey, I'd like to get figure out my credit. And they're like, sure. And then because I had no idea how to go about that, but they had, asked me all the questions and stuff. And they're like, well, it's at this. And I'm like, is that good? They're like, well, it could be better, especially if you want to do this and this later. So they're like, we suggest you take out a credit card with us or something like that. I'm like, all right. And yeah, um, when I went to talk to the bank recently, and I was like, "Hey, how about a house? You got a house back there?" They're like, "Sir, that's not how this works." But they're like, "Well, they asked me. They're like, "Your credit is this. Why is it that number?" I don't even remember the number, but they're like, "Why is it that?" I'm like, I don't know. I've taken credit cards with from you guys. I got a car loan with you guys." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Thanks." I'm like, like, what does that mean?" So like, I was approved for the house and stuff, but it's like,
Oh,
what was
congratulations.
that? What was what was the point of asking and why so mysterious? Like that's so bizarre. I've always felt really uncomfortable with credit cards and stuff. My mom always said never get a credit card, just straight up don't. but the bank, they were taller than my mom and they look stronger than my mom. So I decided to get a credit card.
Yeah. And, no offense to your mom, but that turned out to be better advice if you were planning on getting a home mortgage someday.
Yeah, yeah. But in general, though, I don't like owning money. So when they were like straight up take out a credit card with us. I'm like, God damn it! Like I don't like being chained to anything financially speaking, for sure. So I don't know. That's a whole nother thing now with purchasing a house. That's straight up like you have to borrow money. So um, yeah, that's all I got for credit scores.
I know when my wife and I bought our house, um, her credit score was like 2 points higher than mine, and she was like so proud of that and never let me live it down. Um, Another thing somewhat related, but that really annoyed me was so like you worry about identity theft and stuff, and that's tied to like your credit report and stuff in some ways. You can do a thing where you freeze your credit, and that's done like through these three companies like Experian and whatever the other two are. And basically you say like nobody can take out any debt in my name or with my social security number or whatever. So no car loans, no new credit cards, no home mortgages or whatever. So you go through that process. You go to like you have to go to three different websites because there's three companies who maintain these credit score databases, and you freeze your credit. And like I did this years ago, and um like they gave us this like 20 letter digit code or whatever, and they're like, oh, do not lose this or you will you'll be fucked, you won't be able to ever get a new credit card or whatever. So we wrote them down, put them in our fireproof safe or whatever, and then like we wanted to get a new credit card a few years ago, so we're like, okay, let's get the numbers out or whatever. Never fucking had to use them. Like we just went on those websites, like created our accounts, and it like asked like kind of like questions like how did you get your credit? It's like which is like an address that you lived in, and it's like multiple choice, or which one of these is a car that you've owned, and it was multiple choice. And then it like let us create an account, and then you could freeze and unfreeze the credit from there. So like I'm glad I have that account now, so at least nobody can create a new account with my social security number. But it just seemed like this I had this like false sense of security all these years that I thought it was frozen and you had to have these keys to do anything. But in reality, like anyone who knew that information could have done it.
Wow. Yeah, it's so weird. It's definitely like adult talk when it comes to credit scores. Because again, it's so mysterious and scary. Like, I don't know why that score is the way it is. Shouldn't you guys know? Like somehow? And it's like dealing with the IRS. They're like, so you owe us this much money. Are you sure? Like, you just said I owe you that. So odd. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think it kind of reminds me of like my buddy Luke. He was in the army, and when he was deployed, like anytime he was getting a paycheck, he was just taking it and putting it in his bank account, taking it, putting it in his bank account, and then like he would never really spend any money. He was just stockpiling and saving his money. And then when he went to buy a car, he would just pay cash for the car. Or like when he rented an apartment, he's just like, okay, if you're approving me, he's like, I'll just pay you for the entire year of rent, and I'll just pay if it was, 13,000 bucks, he's like, okay, there you go. That was the year's worth, and he just paid it. So then when it came time to like buy a car, his car like broke down. He was gonna buy a new one, and they're just like, no, you can't. You need a cosigner. You don't have any credit. And
God.
he's like, but I have like all this money, and he's like, and I can pay you like this much down payment. And they're like, no, sorry, it doesn't work that way. And it kind of reminds me of like what you were saying, Vince, where they're like, why is your credit score this way? And it's just like, what? Because taking out debt is bad, so I've gone through all these ways of not taking out debt. But now that I do want to take out a loan, you're being punished for not doing it more, even though that's kind of the responsible thing to do.
Yeah. Wacky, wacky credit stuff.
Got to know the game and play it their way.
Ain't that the truth? Is that the show? No one gives
A
us
show.
credit. Yeah, that is a show.
It's showing a serious delinquency and topics covered, but we'll just brush that over that.
You know what? If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and comment. Although I'm very, very bad at responding to the comments. I don't even know why I say it. It's kind of like a muscle memory or something. Go to a few goldilockbears.com. I was Vincent Cloud.
And you know what? If you see someone else's comment, go ahead and reply to their comment in a nice and friendly way. And if you're that first person, comment back to the second person. I'm John Nemitz.
And don't misinterpret them for being passive aggressive. They're probably being nice. And I'm David Lauer.